Hey everyone, I know you're watching this in much excitement about our episode 1 discussion of the Last of Us HBO series. So before you go into it, I just want to let you know I fucked up a little bit. I didn't fucking up already. I didn't realize that I had the Last of Us theme song going the entire time of our conversation. Though not a big issue, it was not intended. So hopefully you can get through the episode and listen to the nice music and it's not overlaying the conversation. I also wanted to say, if there's anything we missed in the episode, please reach out to us at 8bitmoviereview@gmail.com or Facebook or Instagram. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to be doing this every Tuesday night at 7 live and then releasing the following day the video on YouTube. So enjoy.
They took your favorite game and made a movie so bad you had to spew. What's a nerd to do? Well, listen to 8-Bit Movie Review with Josh and Andrew. It's 8-Bit Movie Review.
Welcome back, gamers. Hey, well, welcome back. I guess not. They heard you, Josh. You were hiding behind the intro.
That's fine.
Well, welcome back. I'm so used to saying that on the pod. This is our first video feed.
Welcome
gamers to 8-Bit Movie Review, the podcast where we discuss movies, series, and all things video games. And you all know why
there's not enough content if we didn't do that. So yeah, we have to.
And it'd be less fun.
True.
And we got friend of the pod in the chat, Joe D, baby.
Mr. Joe Donovan. I think I also see the Phantom and Random Boys in there. Plus a few others.
Random Boys.
So that's cool. Here to chat about what, Andrew?
We're here to chat about The Last of Us, episode 1. And what's the name of that episode?
When you're lost in the darkness.
Ooh. Fireflies, baby.
Look for the light, you fucking son of a bitch.
I do love when one of them walks over to Joel and he's just like, if you're gonna start talking to me about Alone in the Darkness or something, just fuck off. Like,
yeah, that was great. So, yeah, I mean, I think both of us kind of have the same opinion. I'd say that this is so far pretty good. It's pretty good adaptation. We've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of stinkers. We've seen some good ones. This being probably my favorite video game, I was very nervous about this show. Very, very nervous, regardless of what I think of the acting chops of the Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal and everyone else involved. I still was nervous because the story is very important to me, and you probably get that gist if you heard the breakdown we did, where we talked about everything about the story. We talked about the parallels of how it ties to the stages of grief and getting through grief, and the character arcs of each of the characters, and how huge they are. So I really, really hope that this series does at least the first game's story justice, and have a feeling that we are getting that.
Yeah, I think we definitely are. Well, come on, our boy Neil Druckmann's the one writing every episode, which is, we've watched a lot of shit, Joe. Oh my God, I'm fucking up, guys. Look, I'm fucking up.
Not
I'm streaming. Josh, we've seen a lot of fucking shit, and the biggest thing is they put somebody in control that has no idea what the series is, and you have these great writers who write these fucking video games, and why aren't we getting them involved in writing these movies, these shows? And this was great, and it was filmed and directed really well. It was directed by Craig Mazin. I wasn't that familiar with him, and I look at what he looked like. And he's, if you've ever watched the show Mythic Quest, he's just this sexist, nerdy gamer in the show that isn't even a big character. And I'm like, that's the guy that directed this?
Isn't the guy that directed the Chernobyl series as well?
I didn't see that on his list. Maybe he did. I know that that I did hear that, so probably did. I should have done a little bit more research on this guy. But I was more excited just to see Neil Druckmann. You know, we even have the same composer, Gustavo Santaolalla. I was practicing his name, but you know.
Yeah, no, you weren't practicing it enough, clearly. Yeah.
But still, they've taken a lot of loyalties from the game to this show. So, you know, right off the bat, I thought Nico Parker as Sarah Miller. I know a lot of people have been online, been like, ooh, why'd they make her black? And it's like, shut the fuck up. You know, she did a really good job. She
was good.
She crushed it.
Well, it's if you're gonna go that, it's like, all right, well, why is Joel being played by Pedro Pascal? It's like, just think about it. Texas has a large population of Mexican Americans, you know, so okay, it's fine. They're taking some liberties.
Yeah, people were like, oh, why is Tommy Latino? And it's like, well, no matter how you paint it, guys, Pedro Pascal, he's Latino, and he's going to have a Latino brother. I think I'm very actually happy with the casting. Like, I think the casting is really good in this. Even I'm trying to remember her name. Oh yeah, Andy. Oh my god, I'm so nervous, guys. Just
why are you nervous?
I don't know. Anna
It's Joe D and Ed.
Yeah, true.
And like 7 bots.
Anna Torv from I don't know if you've ever seen Mindhunters. Great show. She crushes it in that. Her as Tess. Whereas, of course, like most people were like, oh, they don't really look like the characters, but I thought she did a really good job as Tess. What were your thoughts on Tess?
No, obviously in the game, it's like, well, why doesn't she look like Tess? It's like, well, let's think about it. Joel's 56. She's probably mid-50s. The game kind of doesn't look like a mid-50-year-old lady. You know? She does in the show look like a mid-50s-year-old lady who has been burning fucking bodies in a quarantine zone and is just beat down. And they show they're fucking just drinking and doing pills all the time and just passing out to wake up the next day and do the same thing. Yeah, eventually you're gonna look pretty fucking haggard, you know? So I don't have any problem with it. I guess the only thing I'm waiting for is a little bit more Bella Ramsey. Because Ellie is a huge part. I mean, she had a lot of attitude. That's cool. I need to see her do I need to see her do some of Ellie's bigger scenes. I need to see her do those well, and then I'm all in.
Yeah, we didn't get enough of Bella Ramsey, and I wanted more. But that's like
it was a long episode. Long episode. It was like an hour 20.
Yeah, well, they were actually going to be split into 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But the director was like, so it was actually supposed to end, which I love that they're not holding our hands and being like, it's going to get darker. It is going to get darker, but they really are like, if you're not familiar with this, buckle up, because this is how dark this is going to be going to be. When we first get into 2023, we get this kid, he's walking and he goes to a quarantine zone and he tests positive for fungus.
For COVID, yeah. So they kill him.
And
just like now.
That's when it was going to end. It was going to end with Joel throwing him in the fire. And the director was like, one, no Ellie in the first episode. Fans probably aren't going to be that happy. 2, killing 2 kids in the first episode may not, and then ending it like that, it may not fly well. So they decided to combine the 2 and just do one really long episode.
Totally fine. Yeah, they needed to do that. They needed to cover at least the prologue, which I honestly thought was done very well. The Last of Us, the intro to The Last of Us is probably one of the most well done intros to a video game, especially like a story-based video game, like of all time. It really is. Like I remember when it first came out and everyone I know was saying, the first 10-15 minutes of the game made me fucking bawl my eyes out. I can't believe that they did that. The emotional gut punch of it. And then they expanded on it. They expanded on it. They gave us more time before everything goes to shit. They give us more time with Sarah. We get to meet neighbors. We get to see her doing stuff. This is also like pre-social media days, like 2003. Like Twitter wasn't even around until like 2007. So, you know, word like this isn't going to spread. Although some of the like the watch lady being like, yeah, just go home. It's like, why didn't you know something's going on? Why couldn't you tell her what's going on? But yeah, I like that we got a little bit more with them all kind of like showing their interactions. We get to, because we're not playing as Sarah. That's why it hit us so hard in the game, because we are her perspective. We're from the child's perspective in the game, which makes it super gut punching when she gets killed. And then we switch to, oh fuck, 20 years later, and now this guy is the main protagonist. So I'm glad we got all of that extra info. Especially, I really liked the explanation they had that was told through a 1968, I believe it was, talk show, where he's talking about fungal infections and, you know, what it would take for that to be able to transfer onto humans. It would take global warming. And Jody actually mentioned something when I posted the other day. He posted like a meme about like, of course it's global warming, of course, or something along those lines. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, that would make sense.
But I thought that was perfect, because in the game they don't really talk much about how this happened or the idea of like what it is. And I thought that was a nice little intro, like, of the
also some horror elements. There's some when she goes and visits the next door neighbor, and you see in the mirror the fucking old lady like freaking out a little bit.
God.
I was like, oh boy, okay, all right, we're getting a little bit of horror.
Well, this is
good.
Horror. This is
yes, it is horror. So I don't mind the creative things they added to the prologue, because it makes it more accessible for a person who's never played the game whatsoever. And if they just did it frame for frame, you probably wouldn't feel so bad. Like, obviously you'd feel bad that his daughter dies in his arm, and his reaction, great, spot on. And Jody in the chat mentioned the whole car ride was amazing.
Fucking dead on. The dialogue, the chemistry between all three actors, especially in that car, was electric. It was so good, and it was almost exactly like the game, like how Sarah's like, how do you know we don't have it, like asking all these questions, which I'm sure we all asked ourselves when COVID came around. Like,
how do I know I don't have COVID? Should I get tested?
Yeah.
I mean, and how many things they included straight from the game. Dialogue, like, how did you afford this watch? I sell drugs, hardcore drugs. Like, okay, literally word for word. And they did that several times, and it's almost like Jim from The Office staring at the camera like,
wink.
You know what I'm doing? You right there? Yeah.
Well, and also the I believe the movie she picks is the movie series that Joel mentions
from the second one. Yeah,
the second one. So you know, that was a thing too. And I thought it was great that they expanded it more. Like, you know, that Nico Parker really sold it as Sarah, and they built it more like, so you are feeling for her. Like, she pretty much takes care of her dad, like, and she's doing all this nice thing, his broken watch, and like, you know, before we just saw him getting the watch in the game, and she talks about it, but like seeing the steps, and also it's slowly doing the slow burn of, you're slowly seeing the world around her going like unravel.
Like 2 cop cars go by fast, and then eventually that becomes like a plane or like a military jeep, and then eventually it's F-16s flying through the air, and then fucking, you know, explosions in the distance, and then, which I really liked that when it all goes to shit, is because planes are crashing out of the sky. Like, they didn't do that in the game, and I thought that was a really good creative choice to have just planes. Because if you think about it, Yes, that would happen.
It would happen, but
People with COVID go on airplanes. So what if
True.
that turned into a fungal infection and then they start eating the pilots? Those planes would fall from the fucking sky.
Like, I guess maybe they were hinting an airline was nearby. I thought that, I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was a little much. I was like, okay, this isn't an Uncharted show, because I feel like in Uncharted
Well,
things
Tom
are always...
Holland wasn't
Yeah,
talking like hanging on to like a crate, falling out of it, and then talking to the voice actor on a beach. So you're good.
And
But,
yeah, no, I did, but I did like that whole scene was done well, and I do see, I believe this is Ed or Brian, but yeah, what you said about the virus origins, they definitely wanted to
it makes
wanted
more
to differentiate
sense.
themselves, and
Absolutely.
this is gonna be way better than The Walking Dead. Come on, let's be honest, like.
Well, because this also probably will know when to end. It's not going to go
Hopefully.
on for 11, 12 seasons and then
Oh,
have
you mean
7 spin-off shows.
And do like 3 seasons where they say part 1 of the finale of The Walking Dead, and it's like 3
Yeah.
years. It's ridiculous. But Jody mentioned the T-bone fake out, because that's like what I was waiting for. You know,
I was too. I was bracing for that.
And then I guess that's, you know, and that's what I do like, that they're going to be doing things slightly different, because I don't want shot for shot. I want a little bit more build up and additional things, because I want to see more to this story.
Yeah.
And
They're gonna subvert our expectations of what we know of the show by including similar things, but then also like, oh, you know that the T-bone's coming. Just fucking with you.
gotcha.
And then here something else happens. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I liked it. I thought it was really well done. Even her dying scene was, I felt a little bit more like horrible to watch.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
I'm like,
seems, yeah, that's
and
pretty.
he's trying to pick her up, and she's slipping out of his arms because of the blood, and like, he's like, we gotta go, baby, we gotta go. And Kat, like, I hope she doesn't mind I'm saying this, she's just started crying, and I was about to cry, but then she started crying, and I'm like, yeah, this is brutal. Like, this is, even I did a rewatch and I kind of skipped over that because I didn't want to see her die again, like, because she really hammed it up in a good way. Like, she really, it was great.
Yeah, I have to give them points for the intro just being the main theme music, you know?
So good. And the I feel like they kind of did like a thing. It reminded me slightly of Game of Thrones, not the music, the way that the fungi like builds up and like it has all the spores
exactly.
and stuff. But it's
Game of Thrones
so
like
cool.
progresses and shows like an evolution of like the different locations, and this is kind of similar where it's the spreading of it, and you're kind of seeing these different areas like being overtaken kind of thing. I thought it was spot on. That was like the only thing I sent you on Sunday because I was just like watching the shit out of the show. Like,
When
all
you
right,
sent that
nothing, put the phone down, only watch the show, no breaks.
When you sent that to me, I just turned it on and the intro was just starting. So it was like perfect timing. Like, I watched it a little bit behind you and I was like, oh my God. The liberties that they took in this was just awesome, because the one thing I want to get into now is the sets. Oh my God, the sets were great. They looked fucking amazing. Even this, like, the fake CGI backgrounds did not look CGI. Everything looked good. It looked crisp. It looks clean. I do not know how much it cost them to, next episode when we stream again, maybe I'll get some numbers down to see what they're spending on these episodes, but like, the practical effects are just bonkers. They're so good. Like, the guy in the wall, like,
Yep. The Boston quarantine zone looks really good. I do like how we got to see a little bit more of like what they put the people through, what they forced them to do for meal ration tickets. Like,
I like
Jesus
that too.
Christ, them making them just burn all the bodies. I'd say the biggest difference is that they are omitting the inclusion of spores. seems like. You get infected by bite, it looks like. I get it because we don't want to have our main actors with face masks on a TV show for a majority of it.
That's what I figured, but come on, like, I don't know if you would have felt the same way, but I was waiting for them to put on those masks because that's just like such a big part of the game. Like, you go into a dark area, you see
that's
spores.
also a big part of how Joel finally actually like understands that Ellie is immune. Is they go into a spore infested subway, underground subway area, and he's like, "How are you breathing in this stuff?" She's like, "I wasn't lying to you." So now they kind of can't do that scene, or maybe they will do like a different.
Well, they
take
did
on it
kind. They
thing.
did kind of remember the guy that Joel was selling pills to catches them at night, and then he tests all of them, and she tests positive, and I think that was their throwaway. But I guess, but it would have been cool to see the spores the way that they took them, but it's a small thing. It's not really anything to really. And our buddy Ed from Fandom at Random told us they spent $10 to $15 million per episode, and it shows. It shows. We see all these popular franchises like be adapted, and they look like shit. And this is something that I'm very happy. It looks, but it's only episode 1, everyone.
So far,
we know that this can fall to shit quickly. But so far, like, it looks like they're really hand-holding, like, not hand-holding, but like really taking care. And
you said it originally. You said because Neil Druckmann, who is the creative director of the games, he's basically the creative director of this series. So he's going to get final call on like how they build the episodes. I understand that there's like a whole team of people, but he's gonna say like, yes, that makes sense, or no, that doesn't make any sense. So hopefully I'm optimistic at this point. I was nervous, but now I'm optimistic, and I want to see clickers and runners and bloaters. I want to see them in action. Well, and I did hear that the people that they had that did the mocap in the games for clickers, those are the people who are doing it in the show. So they already know like the fucking way to move, the way that they created them in the game.
That's what I'm actually
bring that right to the show.
Awesome. Because I was telling Kat that like I'm really looking to see how the choreography for the clickers are, and hoping that it's not going to be like zombies, because they're not like zombies. They're not zombies. No. They each different clickers have like, well, they're not all clickers.
It's a different level of it's a different level of infection. It's all, you have the cordyceps takes over your brain, and when it first starts, you're a runner. You get hyper aggressive. Anything that you see that's not another runner or something infected, you want to fucking kill. Then it evolves to, then it takes over your brain and then your whole face. Then you become a clicker. You have no sight. You use fucking echolocation or whatever the hell you want to call it to track people. And then if it gets way too far, then we get into bloaters. But there's also stalkers. Stalkers, I think, are in between runners and clickers.
Those are the ones that can only stay in the dark, right? Like they can't.
Those are the ones that like hide and run around. We see a lot more of them in part 2.
In part 2, that was like the biggest, the pains in my ass. I remember playing them. It looks like from the preview they show at the end, after all the credits and stuff. It was after the credits anyway. That they're mainly going to be practical, because they showed a zoom up on the clicker. What we've seen of the bloater so far looks CGI. He looks CGI.
Yeah, the bloater looks CGI.
I get that, because one, it's going to cost them a lot extra. I'm hoping that half is maybe non-CGI, and maybe they just touch it up.
What we see is CGI because he's crawling on a fire.
True, but a suit like that's going to be very costly, because they're going to have a guy's going to have to be in there. They probably have to use the same guy in multiple shots, because a suit like that big, it's gonna, it's one of those suits with like fans in it. It's gonna be like they could probably only shoot for like 2 minutes at a time before this person like suffocates. That's the problem with a lot of hefty suits like that in like different genres of horror and stuff like that. Usually,
Yeah,
they'll be
where
like,
are they filming this in Georgia, which is where like everything's filmed?
Canada, I think they filmed
Canada?
this.
No, maybe
I
it won't be that
think.
hot then.
But I was just thinking like maybe that's why, because I know when you have characters and like bigger characters, and I know back in the day in the 80s and stuff, whenever they had people in suits, it was usually a problem. I know Sam Raimi ran into that problem a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we already talked about some of the acting, but we got to give it up to Pedro Pascal. Like he's nailing it. Down to like the emotional face he gives when Sarah is like, I fix your watch because I know you're not gonna do it, and just the facial expression he gave just like gives you what he's thinking, like, shit, she's seeing through my bullshit, like,
yeah, And I said this before we went live. The only thing I was kind of slightly worried about was in the prologue, it wasn't clicking as Joel for me. But then as soon as we get to Boston QZ, I was like, all right, that's Joel. He's talking like him. He's fucking just broken and just gruff, and he doesn't give a fuck. He's given up kind of thing. But before I was like, he's a little too lighthearted. He seems just like a dad. But
that's what they want you to. They want you to feel.
Yeah, I know.
But I think it's also, if you think of it too, because in the game, you really only see Joel very little. You don't see Joel very much. You see him like watch a movie with his daughter, put her to bed, and then disappear, and then you're Sarah. And then you just see him freak out the whole time while you're sitting in a back seat. And I think that was that you didn't get much before Joel in the first one, in that prologue. Where they're trying to like that, like, he's kind of a quirky dad. He's obviously. Did we ever find out what happened to his wife? What happened to his wife in the game? They ever talk about that?
You get a little bit of dialogue, but I think it's alluded that she died at some point, because he doesn't want to talk about it at all until like the very end of the game, and Ellie brings up something when she gives him the picture of the daughter, and like he says something like, all right, Ellie, that's too much, because she starts bringing up like the mother, and she's like, oh, okay. So we don't get like a flat out answer, I don't think. I could be dead wrong about that, but I just kind of assume she's gone, dead, not in the picture. So he's a single dad.
And you can tell that he just works all the time, and his daughter pretty much takes care of herself.
Yeah.
And I liked, and again, we're hopping around. We're not going to be going in order in these videos, by the way. Her whole scene in the prologue where she walks in the house. I love that dog was like, fuck you. The dog lived in this, because I'm pretty sure in the game the dog dies. You hear the dog go.
You do hear, you definitely hear a dog getting killed.
I was like, oh no, I hope we don't see that dog die. But then that dog's just like, no, you're stupid. You go in there. And
animals aren't dumb, dude. Animals know.
What'd you think of
the dog? Great actor. Really showed that he didn't want to go in the house.
Little things.
It's a change, but if they're going by like the science of like cordyceps and how they infiltrate a host and then kind of take over the host, like kind of makes sense. Like, look at what those do to ants, and they kind of grow like almost a mushroom type fungus that busts out of their skull, and that's the thing that's puppeteering these things that they're taking control of. Kind of makes sense. If it's a different take, I'll tell you that much, but I don't mind it.
It looks like they're not like eating them, because like in the game they more like eat them, where in this it looks like they're just kind of sucking their blood and
it look like little spaghettis.
I was
little
like,
little beefaronis hanging out.
it did disturb me a little bit. I was like, ooh, this is, you know.
Yeah, that's a good thing for them want to go with in like a horror series is show disturbing imagery.
And then I love that we see Lewis's house on fire. I love that. Even though they changed it to Jimmy's house, I noticed. Like,
Yeah, Jimmy being the guy next door that, don't come in here, Jimmy. Stay back.
you killed
Shoots
him.
I just saw him this morning. Yeah. So they've changed it, but I mean, you know, you get the farm on fire. You get basically the same setup. You know, it's just slight differences. You know what I mean?
Like instead of Robert being killed by Tess, Robert gets killed. You know, the guy with the battery.
By the fire. Yeah, by the fireflies. Yeah, exactly.
Fireflies. Played by Brendan Fletcher, who we know kind of. He was in a lot of UV
I recognized
Bowl
him.
movies. Yep.
Yep. I recognize that actor.
Which he was also in. And I'll give a shout out to Fandom at Random, by the way. He was in Violent Night, which Fandom at Random recently covered that.
That's the David Harbour Santa movie.
Oh yeah, it's so good. And Fandom at Random did a really good review of it. So if you're not familiar with Fandom at Random, everybody, make sure to check them out. They discuss a lot of my favorite things. But I didn't really care for him that. He did a weird voice in that in Violent Night. But in this, he did a pretty good job. He was barely in it, but, you know.
Just like Robert. Robert was barely in the game.
Yeah, he wasn't a big character.
Yeah, it's basically a tutorial section to like, here's how you shoot and stalk people and do stealth stuff. Now you get to murder him.
Yeah, and I thought he was okay in it, but we got to give it to they got the original voice actor to play Marlene, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Murray Dandridge.
Is that her name?
It says Merle.
Merle?
Merle.
You're
Even
fucking-
weirder.
You can't read, dude.
I know. Well, my notes are at a distance. It looks like an eye from here. Don't
Yeah,
judge
I'm
me,
glad
people.
That, I do find it weird that they only had one person actually reprise their role. I mean, I'm not surprised. I am surprised that out of all of them they could do, they chose just one. But I guess maybe she was the face of Marlene. She was the voice of Marlene. So,
like, I
why
think
not?
Pedro's doing a great job, but Troy Baker, even though I think he'd have to beef up a little bit, kind of looks like Joel. Like, his face is pretty close. I think
Well, he
he's a
really
little
sounds
young.
like him. Yeah.
He definitely sounds like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, all in all, I thought it was great, and you know, I'm hoping they didn't just dump everything and try really hard for the pilot episode to get everyone hooked, but Neil Druckmann being involved is, I think, making me feel safe about this.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to see where it goes. I want to see how the infected are more utilized. I mean, we got so very little of it. Obviously, we saw a good amount of like them, you know, murdering people when that whole thing started. But it kind of didn't really make sense where like he split off from Tommy, and then only one of them noticed and chased him. Because if multiple, they probably wouldn't have made it, right? I mean, if like 7 of them were chasing Joel and Sarah, that guy wouldn't have shot all 7 of them and just not shot Joel and Sarah at that point,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I
also like the little. They gave a little bit more humanity to the soldier, because in the game you can tell that he doesn't want to do it. He's like, "But sir, there's a little girl," and then he actually gets to say like, "I'm sorry," like right before he's going to kill.
Well, like, let's redempt this guy a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, he's gonna get shot in the head anyway. Let's give him just a little bit more humanity, like any person would, you know. This is like the first night that those types of decisions are coming from up above. Like, yeah, you're gonna kill that kid. Oh, really? Kill that child? All right.
And Kat had a question about that, and I was hoping you might be able to answer it. She wanted me to ask because I wasn't too sure. Were they mainly wanted her dead because she was injured, and they're like, well, we have to kill the father now, or they're like, we're not taking on any people or risks, you need to kill them.
Anyone that was within that zone, they were just gonna, because once we go to the future, you just see that they've bombed cities. They were just bombing anything outside of quarantine zones. They just they don't even want to risk it, so they're just not letting anyone out. They were just gonna go in, kill everybody, and try to keep that because I mean it makes sense if a viral infection is in one area. We know it's in one area. Yes, maybe there's 15 million people, but is that worse killing 15 million than the 6 to 7 billion on the planet? I think we do the lesser of the two evils. Even though we know now that it wasn't just one place where it originated from.
Oh yeah,
it was everywhere. But they didn't know that. So yeah, they basically were just like, we don't give a fuck if you're saying you're not infected. You're not leaving.
Oh, Dave's in the chat. Now he's in the chat. Well, welcome, Dave. Just teasing.
Dave Reardon. Big Daddy Dave.
Ooh. But yeah, it was, they did a really good job making me feel the way that the game does. And when they finally leave at the end of the episode, again, I thought that shot was so awesome when the building that's like leaning on
from the game.
Yeah,
it's right from the game.
Let me see. Oh, you guys watched it last night? Dave in the chat. No one can see it in the recording, but yeah, you guys just watched it last night. I'm looking
so far. We're with you. That's kind of been our opinion. We were nervous. Now we're very optimistic. It was a very faithful episode to the game, and I just really hope they keep doing this. So I do like the other stuff that they were like especially the very end of the episode where the soldier that he had been like selling drugs to and getting favors or doing favors for or whatever, he's the one that he actually ends up having to kill. But they showed there's still a little PTSD there in Joel. So it's not just that Joel will fucking murder anybody for whatever, survival. It's that he had he's almost triggered by that guy, he reminded him of when Sarah died. And I kind of like that he didn't just shoot him, he fucking punched him to death.
Oh yeah.
Because that's a lot more brutal than just bang bang.
He might still be alive. They might add him as a character.
I don't know. He punched the shit out of his face 8 or 9 times. That guy might if he's alive, he's not living well.
Yeah, well they definitely yeah, he's dead. I was gonna say something else, and I was like, "Oh,
exactly.
No, he's totally dead."
So we know what the next big emotional thing is gonna be in the second episode, right?
Yeah,
test time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, we should have said spoilers.
They're gonna get. Get the fuck out of
it.
3 people who've played the game. The game's been out since 2013.
Yeah, true.
Give me a break.
So if you don't know that the characters are gonna die, then yeah, that's gonna be huge. That's going to be a big thing. And if you
that's probably how the next episode's going to end. It's going to be them getting to the Boston Capitol, finding that the Fireflies are all dead, Tess revealing that she was infected, and then it probably just ends on Joel and Ellie, going out on their own kind of thing.
I'm assuming, my fiance Kat's not going to watch this, but I bit my tongue because I was she's like, oh, I really love Tess. She's probably going to be my favorite character, and I'm like, oh yeah, Tess is great. You can. I just kind of
I love when she's at the end of the game. Yeah. What a hero.
I was like, okay, yep, you're gonna love what happens.
Why
soon.
isn't Tess on the main picture for this series?
Imagine they change it though.
Yeah, well, that would be wrong.
That'd be something like The Walking Dead did with a few characters, and
that's exactly what they did. Yep. So, hopefully, I don't know the words I'm trying to say. Optimistic. I don't know the adjective I was trying to add on to that. But I'm optimistic. No longer nervous. I want to see them flesh it out. I want to see more of the world. I do like that we're getting into the Boston downtown area now, because I mean, just like you said, the building leaning against the other building is the iconic thing you see from the game. So they know what they're doing. So hopefully, you know, we're gonna see the Boston Capitol. We're gonna see, you know, the underground, which is probably where we first start seeing the clickers, because that's kind of where we first started seeing them in the game. Is that first like subway area that was a pain in the ass in the first game.
Can't wait for the museum.
Yeah, just the museum. Yep.
That was in the preview that they showed of like the whole season afterwards.
Yeah.
So, and they, you know, man, it looks spot on. So I'm with you, man. I'm very optimistic. Is there anything else that we missed about discussing this? I know we've already said like the sets. I can't get enough of the sets. You know, I love just seeing the Firefly symbols spray painted on a wall. I'm like, oh, it's so cool just seeing it real, you know.
I did like seeing more of the day-to-day life for people living in the quarantine zones. I think I already touched on it, but like the little jobs that the soldiers, Fedra's making all of them do. They're making them burn bodies. You know, here's your ration card. Burn this fucking child. You know, and then it shows how they fucking cope with that lifestyle. They're just drinking and fucking taking pills and just passing out, and then waking up and doing it all over again. And that's really it. Jody said, I hope they have the bloater basement scene. Yeah, I agree. They need to have that. It's got to be there. I hope they do. I hope they do the bloater school thing. I hope that's kind of where we first see the bloater, is because Nick Offerman's playing Bill.
I can't wait to see how he does in that. And I love how they've already kind of like hinted Bill, because I think Bill's the one selling them the pills, like giving them the pills. They kind of...
Yeah, I believe so. He was their guy that was smuggling that type of stuff to Joel and Tess in the game. So
they've already hinted him. Yeah, I think Neil Druckmann's gonna take all the big parts and make sure that they're, you know, I'm gonna assume, because he wrote the game, and I think those impacted parts that we felt that are very important, he's gonna be like, yeah, I wrote those in there because you're supposed to feel that way, so it's gotta be in the adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, based on this first episode, I have a feeling that we're going to hit all of the same things in the different seasons. We're gonna get to Philadelphia and meet Henry and Sam, and they're gonna meet those not militia, but like the people there that have like the fucking like military tank that are just murdering people for shit. We're gonna have all that. We're probably, dude, if we get that like sniper thing, that's gonna be fucking crazy.
The sniper thing mission was
yeah, brutal. I can't wait to see how they deal with the Henry and Sam thing, because that in the game is like the first big traumatic thing for, I mean, obviously like Riley and her mother dying is traumatic for Ellie, but like her seeing Henry kill his brother and then blow his head off, and then it switches to the next season, you can tell like she's kind of fucked up, because that's like the progression of their characters. Is like Joel like he kind of gets better as time goes on, because Ellie helps him heal from his trauma, but because he's bringing her on this fucked up travel across the country, she gets super fucked up.
Yep.
She almost gets fucking raped by David and has to murder him with a machete, and that fucks her up even more.
Yeah, that part at the end, you kind of see like her soul leaves her body. Like she's just like, for a good portion of the end of the game. And I did notice with Henry and what was the brothers? Sam. I like the touch that they're doing with this, because I have a deaf aunt, so that, you know, I think the younger brother's going to be deaf from what I saw in the trailer. So I think that's cool that they're gonna do like
stupid deaf kid.
But
he's got to be the voice actor Miles Morales. What the hell, man?
Is that the same guy?
How would a deaf person fucking live in a infected like wasteland? How do you sleep? How How are you gonna like go to sleep not being able to hear shit fucking like climbing in and like
well, he
trying
has
to kill
his
you?
brother with him. That's why. And also, like,
Ah,
yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
fucking
but-
woke Neil
Oh,
Druckmann.
come on. As someone who has relatives that's deaf, I think that's a nice. I like that. I'm for it. So fuck you. Mean mugging.
I'm not watching the show anymore.
Hey, this show.
Hashtag.
Oh, you froze, Josh. Oh no, Josh is frozen. Josh, the face you're making while you're frozen is unbelievable. Oh no. We'll give it a minute, Josh. So Josh just got canceled, everybody. Let's see if he comes back in. All right, I'm back in. Sorry, everybody. Up, Josh is coming back in too. Here we go.
Yeah, it didn't freeze on my end.
Yeah, on my end, it did.
It froze, and then you dropped out of the Zoom call, and the stream stopped because Twitch just you went away, and I refreshed it, and Twitch wasn't up.
So the stream, it's not streaming anymore. On my end, it says it's streaming.
I see that you're streaming now, but
Okay.
when you dropped out of the Zoom call, it said the stream ended. I went out of it, and 8-Bit Movie Review was not streaming anymore.
Okay. So that video got cut off then. So it's probably going to be 2 videos. Is it saying we're streaming right now?
Yes.
All right. Well,
Fine, we're at the end of it anyway. So.
we're at the end. I'll have to do some editing and stuff and see if I can re-up the video onto Twitch a little bit better so it stays in there and I'll edit. But for everyone that was still in the chat, we're back. We're closing this out now.
Well, thank God. I mean, all we were gonna do is say.
I
"That's
know.
it.
We were
See ya."
just about to end it anyway. But I'm looking forward to the next episode. I can't wait to see where we're going from here. We pretty much have an idea, but I'm excited to see more. And I am excited to see more of Bella Ramsey, honestly.
Yes, I agree.
I know
She
you.
gotta prove it. She gotta prove herself.
She didn't do that bad, in my opinion. I don't think she did that bad.
Didn't do that bad, but I need more.
All right. Well, I think that that's the end of our episode. Check us out next week. We'll be discussing episode 2, and definitely check out our podcast if you are new to the show and you're just watching us. Normally we don't do video, but we're going to be doing a little bit more. This will be video.
Can you tell why we don't do video? It's not because we're ugly. It's because we're bad at it.
Yeah, hey, it's a learning curve. But you can check us out on all the podcast platforms. This week, we will be releasing our episode where we discussed Cyberpunk. And next week, we'll be discussing Cyberpunk Edge Runners. So make sure you check that out. We're now on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe. And subscribe to this channel, too, while you're at it. Why not?
Yeah, we don't stream on here, but fuck it.
I'm Andrew Gonzalez.
I'm Josh Edgington.
Thank you for joining us.